On the day that I'm posting this video, it is officially the first day of fall, which is so exciting. And as sad as I am to see summer go, I'm so excited for just the cozy vibes, hoodie season, the fuzzy blankets, and of course, a bunch of fall books. Don't worry, I have way more than these. I'm just afraid of them all falling. So today's video is going to be my fall TBR. Now, I know that I'm going in a little over my head, and I most definitely will not be reading all of these, but I have all the books that I want to read separated into 5, kind of 6 categories. 2 of them are kind of the same. Ooh, what do we start with? You know, as much as like horror goes along with like fall and spooky season, I'm not much of a horror person. I do, however, love thrillers. So I have quite a few thrillers that I really want to get to. So the first one I have is Never Lie by Freida McFadden. I've heard she's a really good author, so I wanted to pick up this one, and I know this one takes place around like winter time during a snowstorm, but I feel like the thriller vibes of it just sound so good even for a fall book. Basically, these newlyweds find the home of their dreams, or so they think. They get trapped inside the home from a winter storm, and they start finding little bits and pieces of this mysterious doctor's disappearance who owned the house before them. So I'm very interested. The next book is also a Freida McFadden book, and it is The Housemaid. Fun story about this book, I literally went to Menards, and this was there, and it was $8. So she came home with me. This is a trilogy, and it also has to do with, I think, being trapped in a house. I could be mistaken there, but it's about a maid who is severely overlooked and I think overworked. And all it really says is, I try on one of Nina's pristine white dresses just to see what it's like, but she soon finds out. And by the time I realize my attic door only locks from the outside, it's far too late. So we'll see what I think about this one. This one actually sounds really interesting. I hope to get to this one soon. All right, the next one is a very controversial author, but let me just preface by saying this is my own personal TBR, so you do not have to agree with the book taste that I have, and I also did not go through a Colleen Hoover phase in 2020 that everyone else did. So I have Verity on here, and honestly, I really just want to go into it blind. I don't even want to read the back of the book. I just want to figure it out and learn the plot for myself. So I don't have too much to say about this one. I think the cover is very interesting. So the first thriller book that I read was actually an Alice Feeney book, which was Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I absolutely loved it. I ate it up. It was so good. And since then, I've been trying to read a lot more of her books. So the next book I want to read by her is His and Hers. Oh my god, it's going to be a TV series. That's so, now I have to read it. So this story follows a detective and an anchorwoman as they both cover a murder in a small British town. Maybe this book will give me like the small town vibes. I love it when books have like small town vibes in it, because like I live in a small town, but I don't know, reading about it just is so much more fun. And I gotta say, Alice Feeney, with her writing, she's like the queen of plot twists, and I gotta say, I have not found a 5-star thriller yet, which I'm really hoping to change within the next few months. Fingers crossed, man, because I need a 5-star thriller. I need to say that I read a 5-star in the fall time, because that just makes sense. And then this next one, I don't know if it's a thriller. I think it's a thriller, but it's Thieves' Gambit by I have no idea how to pronounce their name. Kayvon? We're gonna go with that. But I was told that this book was pretty similar to the Inheritance Game trilogy. I don't know if that's entirely true, because this book is about this guy Ross who enters the Thieves' Gambit, who basically are the world's greatest thieves. So we'll see what I think about this one. I also think the cover is just giving fall because of the bright like reddish orange. And then the next genre, I only have 1 book in, but I think it's a book that y'all will know. And it's a dystopian read, and it is The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins. Now, I read the first 3 books in the trilogy, and I think it's time that I finally finish off the series, like 8 months later, with this beauty. I also got the really pretty cover edition. Like, look at this. Now, I will say, I did watch the movie before reading the book, but I did do that for all the rest of them, so not my proudest moment, but it's okay. But I will say, something that's very surprising about this, 517 pages. The other ones are like 300, so I was not expecting this to be as thick as it is, but this book still takes place in the whole Hunger Games universe, but it just takes place at the 10th annual, so this book takes place like 65 years prior to those books. It's a prequel. And what I think is very interesting about this is that this actually follows our main antagonist, President Snow, who nobody really likes in the Hunger Games because he is the bad guy. And I guess this is like his villain origin story, kind of, you could call it that. But I mean, the movie was absolutely huge and we all saw like the trailers and everything for it. So also, I am so excited for Haymitch's book. It's like The Reaping. I'll put a picture on the screen somewhere, but I'm so excited to hear more of his story. I apologize if the camera angle just changed. My camera card was full, so I had to change it. So when we think about fall, at least for me, I think of a few selected genres of books. I think of horrors and thrillers, and I think of fantasy, which is a genre that I have never dabbled in until now. I mean, maybe it's not, but for me, fantasy just seems like a big commitment and it just seems like a lot and it's complicated. So I just never really read any before. So I asked one of my friends for really like basic, like a good book to get into fantasy with. And she recommended me a book that I've heard about a lot, but never really considered reading, which is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And I'll just read the back, maybe so that I can get a better idea of what it is too. Jude was 7 when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to go live in the treacherous high court of Fairy. Ooh. That's a good start. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there. But many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Carden, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King. To win a place at court, Jude must defy him and face consequences. I mean, woo. Like I said, I really don't know what to expect with fantasy. I've never read any of it. I also have the physical copy of The Wicked King, which is the second book in the trilogy. And then the last one is Queen of Nothing, which I do not own yet, but let's be honest here, I probably will own by the end of the year. Are we gonna dabble into fantasy? Stay tuned. This next book I'm so incredibly excited to read. I've been excited to read this since I first heard it was coming out. And I thought it was more like magical realism, which is one of my favorite genres, but apparently it's also fantasy fiction, but it is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This book is so tiny, but the text is also really tiny. So this book is about Lucy, and she's lived a pretty hard life as it seems, and all she really wants to do is adopt this boy named Christopher. It says, just when Lucy is about to give up, Jack Masterson announced that he's finally written a new book. Even better, he's holding a contest at his home on the Rio Clock Island. That sounds interesting. And Lucy is one of the 4 lucky contestants chosen to compete to win the one and only copy. And tell me this book does not give the fall vibes. Like, it's literally a bookshelf, fall colored books. I'm very excited to read this. This is a 100% will read book. And now before I get to romance, because I have quite a few in that category, I have one mystery, which somehow I still do not own a copy of yet, which is The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And I gotta say, the Inheritance Game trilogy was one of the books that really got me into reading, and I flew through those books. And I know The Brothers Hawthorne has come out like probably around a year ago now, something like that, but I really just wanted to own the paperback copy of it because I have the rest of the books on paperback. And also now the Gambit. It's something with Gambit. What is it called? Well, there's Games Untold. The Grandest Game. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But I love how fast-paced her books are. I love her writing style, the characters. I think I'm still gonna enjoy the book. Maybe not as much as the trilogy, but definitely on my list. Okay, on to my biggest category, which is romance. Surprise, surprise. So the first book is actually one that I do not own, but I really, really want to read, because tell me that the cover does not scream fall. It is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This is fall in a book. I heard this book was similar to the movie When Harry Met Sally, which was also such a fall vibey movie, if I can remember correctly. And it also takes place in the 90s, which I feel like that's just so fun, and picturing fall in the 90s with those characters, just chef's kiss. I need to read it so badly. I also need to get the book. I need the book. And then this book, technically I should not even add because I've actually started reading it, but I had to add it because I know, obviously I'm reading it in fall, but is Daydream by Hannah Grace, which is the 3rd installment to the Maple Hill series. It is so cute, so good. I am so excited to hear more about Henry and Hallie's story. This is a college hockey romance series, but I feel like the whole college setting is kind of fun for like fall time since it's like back to school. The next one is not out yet by the time I'm filming this. It might be once you're watching this, but it's Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. I absolutely ate up Better Than the Movies. It was such a fun YA romance. The storyline just kept me intrigued, and Wes in that book. Alright, this next one is also a book that I most definitely have to read in October, which is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Last October, I read 7 Year Slip, and still to this day, it is one of my favorite books. The writing style, the quotes, the people, and the ending of that book made my jaw drop. And I still don't think I've recovered from that book, but I believe that she's in love with somebody who's dead. I don't know. It just only makes sense to read this during fall time because Dead Romantics, Halloween, you catch my drift. Okay, and then the next two don't really have fall vibes, but they're just books that I really do want to get to next. This one is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I need to read this book ASAP. I'm on the Abby Jimenez train and I'm loving it. If this book gives me the same, I don't know if I will ever recover. But this book follows Brianna, and her in the first book, she was an absolute spitfire. She was hilarious. So I really hope that this book follows the humor that was sprinkled into the first book. And then I have The Deal by Elle Kennedy, which has been in my TBR for quite some time. It is the start of another hockey romance series, but it's also just during like school time and college, so I figure like fall is a time where it makes the most sense to read it, so hopefully I get to this one soon. And then the very last book, which I actually have never heard of before I bought it, is Lease on Love by Fallon Ballard. Now that I'm looking at it though, I can't tell if it gives spring or if it gives fall. To be determined on that one. I also don't want to read the back of this because I really want to go into this one blindly. I know nothing about it, never seen it, never heard of the author. To be determined. And now obviously I'm not going to be getting to all of these books in fall, but I definitely plan on doing a fall inspired reading vlog, so stay tuned for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more fun bookish content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. They get trapped in this to be as thick as it is with a bunch of like book colored. What does that even mean? I ate up Nothing Like the Movie, I heard this was similar to the movie When Front Door, just as broad and infuriatingly, that's a hard word to say.